Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And I'm back with part 10 of What If Naruto Was Mahoraga Reincarnation. Remember to get this one too. 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs over the other channels if you're new. Yes, that's correct, I indeed have 3 more channels, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All of the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and check them out and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or waste any more time, how about we jump right into this? Let's begin now guys. So the last part that we left off, the continuous hard work and training had truly paid off on Yugito's part. The only thing that she was lacking was the cooperation of the tail beasts. But that did not matter in that moment because she had compacted so much power. She moved with such speed that even shocked Jiraiya as she outpaced Naruto for a moment. She knocked him around until he caught her fists. With one blow, Naruto sent her up in the clouds. That is when she found herself within her mindscape. The Nibi would not stand for her losing to the Nine-Tailed host, who was not even using a glimpse of the Nine-Tailed power. So she was about to give her a major boost, a bit of her cooperation. Even the beast could see though, that this wasn't just about a battle. Yugito felt free, not bound by village loyalty or anything else. She was simply enjoying the fight, and she felt so happy. She descended upon Naruto as the both of them started to clash. They started to cause major damage for the surrounding area, so much so that the visual artist had to move back, realizing that their life would be in danger if they did not get out of the way. They had to move back immediately. The both of them charged your strongest technique. Well, not really on Naruto's part. When they collided, they wiped away 2 mountains, shocking the spectators. Yugito was set on a drift, on a piece of land that broke away from the mountainside, as Naruto came out of the water without his shirt. However, he did not have a scratch on him. Given that his body really had a super enhanced regeneration, he was completely fine. However, he expended a lot of energy during the battle as he lay beside her and they spoke. It was in that moment that Naruto told her that perhaps their connection was something much deeper. He wanted to be with her. She laughed, knowing that he wasn't your normal individual that would be shy to say what was on his mind, because he said it so plain and so normal, like it was nothing at all. However, his following words hit her deeper than she expected, making her finally realize what she was truly feeling. When the time came for them to leave, their little relationship had not been publicized. However, she wanted to be the one to speak to the Raikage about the action that she's taken. Given the fact that they were not from the same village, this could turn out pretty bad. So in the essence, she was also sparing Naruto from any future complications. Once they departed, returning back, She went to speak with the man. After hearing what she had to say, the Raikage answer was something that surprised her. Before Naruto and Jiraiya returned back to the village, they decided to help out a man known as Shino, which turns out to be the leader of the Sky Country, as he decided to attack Konoha. However, when the Konoha ninjas arrive to see Jiraiya already there, departing away from the Sky Nation that was floating over the ocean, they wonder why the Sannin was not intriguing given that he possessed the toads they use to reach great distances. Before they could question him though, violent explosions started to rain, as Shino was hit so hard that his body teared through the metal and went into the heavens, crashing somewhere far within the sea. He was of course no longer with us, courtesy of Naruto, as Naruto ripped the entire Sky Nation apart, tearing it to sunders. Once that was said and done, some more time passed before him and Jiraiya returned back to the village. Much had not changed, but the people's attitude towards him had definitely changed, given the information released about who exactly Naruto was. It was a good thing that he wasn't a petty person that would rub it in their face. As usual, as he returned, Tsunade already wanted to punch him. As Naruto gave Kakashi the boat that Jiraiya gave him, believing that it will help him, but Naruto found it to be nothing but smut. A battle was engaged between Team 7 once again, as Sakura went first. Naruto wanted to see just how much she had changed, given how weak she was before he saw the improvements. However, fighting between him and Kakashi only led in one thing: mass destruction, as a copy ninja simply did not possess the mass to handle the kind of power that Naruto possessed. Unfortunately though, Gaara was kidnapped soon after, forcing them to leave the village. Heading towards the sand, on the way they met Temari, and Naruto was able to see Sakura medical ninjutsu, as she was able to free Kankuro from the poison, who had the solution that they need. With that, they headed out. The clone that came to fight them was dispatched almost immediately, so much so that the leader was surprised when Itachi opened his eyes. Team Guy was also in the vicinity and received word from Tsunade. They faced off against Kisame clone before they arrived. Gaara was already dead though. The leader gave them strict orders to leave this place and not engage with the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. However, Naruto wasn't about to let that happen. He was going to slaughter the both of them. So yeah guys, basically let's play off. You guys can switch across the playship to yourself to see me in this new episode. As his power surged inside of him, Naruto was alerted by Granny Chiyo leaping away, as the body of Gaara was gobbled up by another large bird, courtesy of Deidara. He leaped onto said bird. Sasori gazed up towards him, questioning what the hell did he think that he was doing. "Sorry Sasori my man," said Deidara, smiling down towards him. "But I'll take the nine-tailed Jinchuriki as well," as he sped off, despite giving specific orders from the leader to not engage with the nine tails. Perhaps his pride was wounded after Naruto had walked through two of his explosives and knocked him hard in the face. So yes, he took off, knowing that the nine tails would chase after him because he had the body of the Jinchuriki. And he was right. The ground shattered as Naruto took off, moving. Kakashi quickly relayed to the others that he would go after him. Chiyo told him that they will handle the rest, leaving them standing by Sasori, who looked towards her, and Sakura. As Sakura tightened her gloves, "Damn it," Kakashi thought, as he moved as quickly as he could. He's really gotten so much faster, he thought to himself, as Naruto was stopping every once in a while and kicking off with so much force as he raced after Deidara. Looking down behind him, Deidara made sure that his bird was flying at a much higher elevating level. Knowing that those huge jumps could reach him, that is when he started to mold the clay in his hand. His pride as an artist was insulted, as Naruto had blatantly walked through his technique and said that it was weak upon just arriving before knocking him right in the face. He sent several birds racing down towards him as they enlarge. Guts! All of them exploded. But once again, Naruto blew right through the smoke, unaffected, causing Deidara to snarl. Naruto pressed his feet down before pushing off. Immediately, Deidara went further into the sky. Much higher than I thought, he said, gazing back down below. Deidara actually smirked though, because he had released tiny little spiders that grew tremendously. As Naruto was plummeting, they immediately attached themselves to him, wrapping around him, some even going on his face. Bringing his hand up together. Let's test that durability of yours. Guts! A following explosion blew Naruto straight out of the sky. Kakashi's eye widened as he immediately raised his headband, moving off as Deidara came to a stop, the bird flapping its wings. He gazed down below. I wonder if that was a bit too much, he said. Fearing the leader's wrath, knowing that he would be pissed if he ended up accidentally killing the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. However, given what he hit him with earlier, he don't think that was enough to kill him. Injure him, yes, but not kill. Besides, he did have the nine tails. Jinchurikis were hard to kill. Deidara's words were cut off as he felt. He felt it. His bird was sliced in half. Naruto had ended up coming from straight down below. After reaching downwards, Kakashi, who was able to witness what truly happened, the entire flooring had exploded with a monstrous amount of force that Naruto kicked off with. He went straight up and pierced right through, tearing through the bird. Naruto gripped the upper half. Deidara turned, but Naruto's leg already lashed out. A brutal kick that sent him sailing, smashing through several trees before crashing down hard. Kakashi came racing onwards as Naruto ripped the bird apart. He took Gaara out of said bird, holding the body as he jumped down. Here, he said. As Kakashi started to take the corpse, Naruto's blade extended as he pulled it out. As I said, he's mine. With that, Naruto took off straight into the woods, over to the other side. As Guy's team was still engaging with the clones that they had to fight. Meanwhile, Sakura was having the fight of her life. Her and Chiyo combined force was taking on Sasori, and the man was no pushover, not one bit. Back to the fighting scene with Naruto. Deidara, cursing at the pain that he was currently feeling. One of his arms were already gone, courtesy of Gaara, who ripped it off during their fight. And now here he was, feeling pain all over. The one arm that he used to block the kick, he was sure there was some breakage there, because his hand was in agonizing pain. The monstrous strength of the nine tails got him to, well, second guess his thoughts. However, he was going to leave, as his hand was already busy molding a clay. Deidara turned, jumping out of the way as the forest was sliced. Trees, the ground was ripped. What the hell? He rolled, coming to a stop. He looked up as Naruto came descending upon him. Deidara flipped and jumped away, releasing 3 spiders. Naruto sliced right through them. There was a tiny discharge as he did. Deidara was confused as they did not explode, despite him activating them. That is when he felt the small static electricity. How did he figure that out so fast? Crossed his mind as he stopped. He weaved under Naruto's punch and twists. However, him believing that he was more mobile, physically skilled than Naruto just because Naruto seemed to be larger and much stronger, which would make him slower. Well, he was wrong. His only arm was grabbed. The look on his face, he definitely seemed scared. Naruto punched him in the gut so hard, the force seemed to travel through his back. He keeled over Naruto's fist and spat out so much blood. Naruto pulled back and knocked him as he tried to take his head off. However, a tiny little scorpion rushed from his mouth in his hand, which had been molding, as it exploded on Naruto's wrist, forcing him to release Deidara. Deidara jumped off the punch at the last second, stopping his head from being ripped off. He landed, crouching as he did as he felt dizzy. Immediately, he jumped away, reaching for more clay. He started to run for his life. Naruto started to chase after him. Prematurely, Deidara released the clay as he exploded right on the ground. As the thing was not even fully developed, simply charged with his technique. The explosion, Naruto ran through it, but Deidara was gone. Gazing around, Naruto tried to locate him, as he then saw Deidara running through the trees, making his way, hopping as quickly as he could, as Naruto turned to take after him, but instead Naruto plunged his hand into the ground and ripped the real Deidara out of the earth. The look on his face was priceless, unable to believe what the hell just happened. Naruto did not let go this time. He stepped into Deidara's chest, while still holding onto the arm. With enough force, bones started to break. Deidara howled out in pain as Naruto reared his fist back. He slammed it right into his chest with so much force, his ribs cracked. He was launched, slamming through a tree without his arm. Naruto tossed said arm down to the ground as he started to walk. By the time he arrived, Deidara was simply lying against a tree, looking rather helpless. He looked up with blood running down his mouth as he smiled at Naruto. I must say, I now understand why it was such a big deal to not go after you directly. You are truly something, Ninetales. Then again, you are the son of that man, Minato Namikaze, if I'm not mistaken. Given what he did back in the Third Great Shinobi War, I'm not surprised that his bloodline would be this powerful. I must commend you on gaining such a great amount of power. However, you insulted my art, and that is why I intend to show you the true definition of what art truly is. Naruto looked down. The ground split open as clay wrapped around his legs. It started to wrap around his entire body. Deidara smirked as he forcefully got to his feet, coughing up blood as he did. I've noticed that you got a rather strong sensory ability, so I had to make sure I use the least amount of chakra possible so you wouldn't notice. And you were too preoccupied with ending my life, Deidara said with a smirk on his face. The clone that he had dispatched earlier was something that he always had as a backup just in case. And right now, he had allowed its body to revert back to a state of complete clay, with chakra still fused in it. However, while it was not fully, substance like a human being, its body residue released a tiny amount of chakra to even move. Therefore, it was difficult to sense and easy to do that. It was a self-sustained protection for him, linked to himself and his jutsu and his chakra. And now, all of that power was converging It was glowing, as the power discharge was tightly secured around Naruto. "Now this is art," said Deidara, "and you shall witness it." He started to back away, a smile gracing his face. Naruto's body was being pulled underground. Deidara stood a distance away before he let loose. A violent blast erupted, ripping the ground apart. It went straight into the heavens. Kakashi Hatake brought a hand up, shielding his face, as a tremendous blast surged with a vast amount of power. It was more destructive than everything that he used so far. Granted, he no longer possessed an arm to do any more. Well, he could, but it would be difficult. But Deidara knew that he successfully won. This boy was stronger than he expected. He was ashamed to admit that he almost got himself killed because he didn't think about running in. Wanting to prove his art was the superior constantly, he almost got himself ended. But that doesn't matter now. At least he hoped that blast did not reduce him to ashes. The leader wouldn't be too pleased about that. And he wouldn't have to be worried about the Jinchuriki anymore. He would have to be worried about the Akatsuki, given that they were ordered not to engage. However, he did them a favor, Deidara told himself, making his way. Arriving towards the place, it was rearranged. He cursed as he gazed upwards to see the copy ninja landed on a broken tree branch. He didn't have time for this. He was already messed up as it was. Where the hell was Sasori when you actually need him? Using that stupid art of his, he could get the both of them out of here. However, despite his problems at the moment, he was still an S-rank shinobi. He should be able to handle this one. That is when he heard something. Deidara turned to see the monstrous form of Naruto standing behind him. No thought process went through his mind at that moment. The only thing that he was focused on was those eyes looking down towards him. As Naruto was unscathed. Completely so. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief, looking down towards a hole that Naruto had been pulled into. As he saw that, the substance around it was frozen, allowing the blast to travel upwards, cracks in the ice, making it travel through the ground. However, he also saw the residue of chakra with his Sharingan. And that was no normal chakra. Naruto had used that to get away, and now, face to face with Deidara. Did you really think I did not sense your stupid plan underground? I've adapted far beyond your eyes, or your senses could even imagine, said Naruto. Deidara did not dare move as they stood so close to one another. I knew what you were doing. It was just a simple matter of escaping before the blast went off. And besides, I'm a lot faster than you, said Naruto. He simply used the tail beast chakra, not the 9 tails of course. His own that had generated tail beast chakra after what happened with Gaara. Along with his ice, he froze the area and converted the chakra into a muzzle of sorts, allowing it to shoot the explosion upwards. Yes, some of the blast did break through his ice, but that did not affect him because Naruto had went deep underground. He had created a literal chasm in a matter of seconds. And now, Deidara was screwed, so focused on believing that he had defeated Naruto. There was no possible way that he could get away in time, but he still tried as he jumped away, only for Naruto to grip his face. Perhaps it was a figment of his imagination, or perhaps Naruto was really growing with power, as Naruto seemed to be twice his size. Like a monstrous beast, he rose Deidara and plunged him into the earth. The first thing to feel agonizing pain was his broken ribs, the jolt, and then his back. Naruto released him as Deidara was still in pain, but his eyes, they'd focused on the fist that was coming towards his chin. And there was nothing that he could do. Naruto hit him with such force that the very ear vibrated. He shattered his chin, crushing that area as Deidara was launched, creating a massive trench, tearing through trees. Naruto held his hand out as a tiny black ball gathered within his palm. He then ran forward as Deidara lay on the ground, unmoving. The only thing that he could see was the heavens looking down at him. As he coughed up blood, the mere notion caused him an incredible amount of pain that almost blacked him out. He could not feel his face. Perhaps it wasn't there anymore. As crazy as that sound, well, he was losing his comprehension of thinking at the moment. Naruto had hit him too hard. The ear had shook. Yes, the ear. So yes, Deidara was not doing so good. However, he saw Naruto in mid-air with a tiny black ball in his hand. Deidara saw as Naruto shot it outwards. It spiraled out. Before it hit him, he saw colors of all kinds, twisting and overlapping with himself. Blue, black, purple, green. What was that? Was that the representation of his art? Deidara thought to himself. Strangely enough, he did not feel pain in that moment. He simply allowed himself to view another's art and said, not bad. However, the entire structure of where they were located was ripped apart. Kakashi was lucky that Naruto's technique went drilling down, as it seemed to rearrange the entire goddamn land. The tremors felt like various earthquakes ripping through the entire continent. The copy ninja had to stable himself, almost falling over several times, as Naruto had made sure Deidara could not recover at all. Despite failing to use his ultimate technique, Deidara was able to witness someone else's art and respect it in the end. Or maybe he was just losing his mind from the punch. One would never know because he's dead. As Kakashi watches smoke seeming to rise up to the goddamn heavens, he saw as Naruto stepped out of it. Deidara was the worst match to fight Naruto. The few explosives allowed Naruto to adapt to him, and once he did that, Deidara attacks were nothing much to him anymore. However, Naruto's technique was too broken by itself alone, allowing him to adapt to all kind of manner of techniques. And in this world, many use the same amount in different ways. So yes, Deidara found his match, and physically he was nowhere close to Naruto. Absolutely none. Kakashi was astonished by his student's strength, unable to believe that it had grown this much. Yes, he fought Naruto when he returned, but this wasn't even half of the power that Naruto used. Time skip. As Gaara was laid on the ground, Team Guy had returned, only to see the match was over. Sakura had buried Sasori, with the help of Chiyo, of course. However, they all surrounded the corpse of the Kazekage. Naruto looked down towards them. He made Temari a promise, but he failed to recover him. But he did make sure that the ones that did this suffer, and Sakura had held up the other part for him. Chiyo saw the conflicting look on his face. He was sad by Gaara's death. She thought about the past, her time, even allies were happy to hear that their allies' strongest opponent dies. "You're upset," she said. "Of course I am," said Naruto. "He was supposed to fight me again, Everyone looked towards Naruto like he was crazy. However, his following words made them understand. As much as Naruto was obsessed with fighting, strangely enough, he built friendship with Gaara in a weird way. The second time they came face to face with one another was when Sasuke ran after Orochimaru, and the both of them made a promise to fight one another again. And they both will be stronger next time. Perhaps Naruto saw himself in Gaara. However, he tended to block out most things when he was younger because he simply chose not to care. But Gaara took it and used it to fuel anger. Strangely enough, they were friends on a weird way. Respect. Yes, the mutual respect with one another. Chiyo started to look at Naruto with a new light. At first, she believed that he was simply a person with great amount of power that did not care or respected anyone. Given his earlier interaction with her, well, she did try to attack Kakashi when she saw him, believing that he was his father, so yes. But now, she understood that he sees things in different ways. A strange young man he was. As she started to make her way over, they watched her. "What is she doing?" said Naruto, as he saw a look on Sakura's face, who proceeded to explain the technique. She was reviving Gaara, exchanging a life for his. Her chakra started to dim though. She didn't have enough. Until she saw Naruto's hands. She looked up at him. "I have more than enough. Use mine," he said. Naruto placed his hand over it as she told him. Strangely enough, the pinwheel in his eyes started to turn, seeming to adapt to whatever the hell was going on. The strangest part of his adapting so far, as he was not fighting. However, the chakra dome got so large. Shocked, the others were by just how much chakra Naruto had. Gaara opened his eyes, confused. "You said that we were gonna fight again, and you gone and let them take that power away from you. However, I suppose it's for the better. We can fight without relying on anything else but our own strength." As Gaara realized he was alive. Time skip. "Shouldn't someone stop them?" shouted Temari, as Gaara clapped his hands together. The sand exploded out in a monstrous typhoon. A crazy looking Naruto was surging with power as he leaped. As the two colliding forces clashed, there was a bright smile on Gaara's face. The respect did not go one way. It went both ways. Time skip. Team 7 and Guy's team returned back to the village. Tsunade was happy to see them, glad to see that the both of them were completely fine. Both teams did not suffer any losses, and they took down two Akatsuki members and the Kazekage survived. She knew Lady Chiyo, that old bat, was very good at creating poisons and medicine, as good as her when it came to creating medicines. In the past, that is. However, a shame about her loss. But she did give her life to make sure that the future generation survive. And isn't that all that the older generation can do to make sure their village and their people prosper? However, Tsunade wanted to speak to Naruto alone, as the others were dismissed. "I got this sometime after you left. A proposal from the Raikage about Konoha and Kumo doing something that has not ever even tried to do before since the formation of the Great Nations. In the past, there was a ceasefire which led to, well, the Hyuga incident. But this was different." She showed Naruto the letter, officially stamped. Now you have to understand, given the major side of the two villages that will be becoming allies, and this being a first, there has to be something much more stronger than the simple word of the leaders and a contract that is signed. There is a bond that is needed to show that future prosperity will live on. With you, you have the blood of the final Uzumaki coursing through your veins. But not only that, despite not originating from any clan, your father was as special as they come. And those two have made you into something that is monstrous, she said. Not holding her words. She was talking to Naruto after all. So, the Raikage want to set up a political marriage between you and one of his kunoichis. But not just any kunoichi. It's Yugito. Naruto trusted Tsunade more people. He talked to her. They might seem to fight a lot, but that was because they talked to each other on a very normal scale, like they were family. To what extent they were, well, by the Uzumaki lineage. As Tsunade was mainly talking about his Uzumaki blood because, well, it came from her grandmother. But his mother was a Uzumaki, so that made him half. Despite her still having Uzumaki blood, she saw him as, well, more than her, not even counting herself. So there he has it. As Naruto sat there, leaning his head back. Marriage, huh? That is something I never thought about, he said. Listen, I don't want to rush you into I'll do it, said Naruto. She blinked. Before you rush into anything like you always do, you need to sit down and think about what you're actually saying. I said I'll do it, said Naruto as he looked at her. I wasn't sure what these strange emotions were in the past. However, I recently found out that I have deep feeling for this girl. And in a short amount of time while I was there with her, I experienced emotions that I've never experienced for someone else in this way. And I start to understand exactly what they were. I think I love her, said Naruto. And given the back and front between us both, not to mention she actively speaking to the Raikage on my behalf, given that our village were still separated, but it turning into something much greater than either of us could expect. What's the point of holding it off? What's the point of denying what is right in front of me? So you love her, huh? Said Tsunade looking at him. I think that what it is, said Naruto. You know, strangely enough, you're the only one I hadn't spoke about this with. Wait, you spoke to others about it? Well, when I say it like that, I don't mean everyone. After all, why would I tell everyone my business? I'm mostly talking about Jiraiya and Kakashi, but Kakashi doesn't really dive into anything of the sorts. And Jiraiya, Naruto stopped his sentence, not finishing what he was about to say, as he simply moved on. Tsunade had noticed that, but she did not follow up on that, because she had her suspicions. I've seen many things in my travel, and these feelings I have cannot be denied, and I think they're the real deal, and I think she feels the same as well. However, you'll get to meet her, and screen her, I suppose. After all, as annoying as you are, I would like your opinion. Tsunade smiled at him until she heard the annoying part. As her eyes started to twitch, I'll let that one slide, because we're having a moment, she said. Alright, fine. We'll set something up, so they can travel to the village. As Naruto got to his feet, she got up as well. Well, if everything goes good on their part as well, I don't see any problem arising. The next moment she punched Naruto straight through the door. As she looked down towards him before, smiling and closing her door. It seems like she did not let it go. Time skip. Sasuke Uchiha was seated within a dark room. His eyes were closed. It's been years since he left the village. Years since he constantly pushed himself to the limit, knowing that he had to be strong enough to face his greatest threat. However, on this day, Sasuke believed that it was time. Time for him to make his move. Time for him to stop this whole shenanigan with the Sannin and truly go after his goal. So that is what he did. Time skip. Some time passed by since the rescuing of Gaara and his revival. In that time, Tsunade had sent word back to the Raikage, agreeing for the meeting and willing to agree to everything if everything went well after their discussion. Meanwhile, at the Land of Lightning, we find Yugito happier than ever, as she was accompanied by two others. She was happy. After speaking to the Raikage, he surprised her. Flashback. She stood within the office in front of the man, telling him everything that has transpired, while she left out some of the details. However, she waited for a response. He was quiet, not looking at her, simply gazing down towards the floor, as he seemed to be thinking. The next words that came from his mouth: I believe that it's the best thing for all of us. No, that shocked her. Back to the original time. Those words were not one that she expected at all. When he brought up the proposal thing, she had to say. She thought she would be nervous. She thought she would be against jumping the gun, moving so fast. Well, her loyalty to her village would want her to do whatever it takes to ensure that her village is strengthened, but a part of her was happy, excited. As she could only imagine Naruto's reaction, she doubted that he would be all overjoyed about it. He would simply play it cool, so that is what she did. She found herself all excited and giddy, something that she hasn't felt for a guy ever before. And that made her knew that this was real. As she made her way, the Akatsuki warning was something that was stuck with them. However, their missions were secretive. She was still a kunoichi of the village, and a huge representative of the village as well. After all, she was the strongest kunoichi here. The Akatsuki wouldn't have any idea on their whereabouts, and the Raikage doubt that they would step foot in the village to come after them, because he would slaughter them all. However, she picked up on something, as she was immediately worried. This was bad. Time skip. Her two comrades that accompanied her, one of them was dead. The other one was badly wounded but still alive. Yugito had lowered the two members down into the sewer system area that led to an underground passageway. This is where she would take them down. This is where she would put an end to them both. She was face to face with two members of the organization. As she smiled, she destroyed the entrance. They both turned. Huh, stupid woman. You locked yourself in here with us. It was a man known as Hidan, a very powerful individual. Because of what he could do, next to him was his partner. He was Kakazu, looking rather jeery and scary. His cool eyes looking back at her. You're wrong, she said. You're the one trapped in here with me. As her power surged. Yugito was very powerful. Yes, she was. Immensely so. Given the training that she had done to best Naruto. When she gutted Hidan, when she removed his arm and sliced his leg off, knowing that he wasn't like Naruto. He could not heal from those bodily wounds. She blasted a hole clean through Kakazu's chest, killing him. However, she was shocked when she saw something emerge from his back and died. It caught her off guard as he started to use threads to sew his partner back up. She attacked him violently until he sliced her with his scythe. She jumped away, the wound immediately healing. She was surprised. These two, they can't die. Hidan chuckled as I said earlier. You stupid girl, you trapped yourself in here with us. And you should know, I am immortal, blessed by the Lord Jashin, to always be above what you human beings are. Enough talking. Let's just do this, Kakazu said. Always ruining my moments. Sometimes I really hate you, Kakazu. Like I care. Yugito power surged even more as she relentlessly attacked them. Within the mindscape, the Nibi could feel the surge and could feel the problem that was rising. She was about to send more power towards her wielder in order for her to best these two until pain. Yugito started to feel so much pain as she dropped to one knee. The chakra was pouring down to heal it, but as Yugito found herself within her mindscape, the Nibi was reaching out to her, wanting to help her, wanting to spear her from this. Unfortunately though, she was pushed back to reality as she was gutted once again. She didn't understand as she started to cough up blood. Hidan was laughing, stabbing himself. Kakazu appeared above her, his skin hardening. He viciously slammed her into the ground, beating the living crap out of her, making sure that she would relent. Her durability was, surprisingly, on another level than they expected, but even then they wore her down. Their immortality, not to mention their crazy way of fighting, blasting one another like it was nothing. Well, that took the cake for her. And in the last moment when the Nibi was about to give her true access to the power to save her life, she was unable to. Yugito collapsed down to the ground, still conscious, barely. As Kakazu looked down towards her, he raised his fist. She reached, searching for something until she found it, as she sent her chakra straight towards the paper. The paper fell from her hand as Kakazu brought his fist down, shaking the ground. She was out cold. However, the slip of paper had summoned a toad. The toad had jumped away, immediately assessing the situation. Huh? What the hell is that? A frog? Hidan said. The toad jumped away and squeezed its way through a small hole as it vanished. They were both confused on the situation. At Konoha, it was a minute after, as Naruto was leaning back. He had a bowl as he was eating something, when suddenly a toad appeared on his table, having reverse summoned itself right to him, using the link that they share. Crazy enough to think that Naruto had refused to become a summoner, but now, being a summoner is what is going to help him save the woman that he loved. Naruto narrowed his gaze. It was a good thing that he was always ready to fight, as he was dressed accordingly. She's in trouble. Flashback. What is this? It was what Naruto had returned to give her before they had left. Something to use in case you're in trouble. Against the Akatsuki. You think I can't handle myself? What? Are you crazy? Of course I think you can handle yourself. Then why are you giving me this? For my own concern, said Naruto. I never truly had to worry about people before. It was strange. Yes, my teammates, there was some worry there. But even then, I was always nearby to protect them just in case. But with you, that's different. There is still so many unknown with these Akatsuki members. And Jiraiya told me something that had me thinking. They were aware of the power that the tail beasts possess. And knowing that the users were strong as well, and yet they still hunt them down. So they were prepared for almost anything. So this is your way of saying that you're concerned about me. It seems my feelings were much more stronger than I thought, now that I understand what they are. She chuckled. What's so funny? It's just strange how you casually talk about things that most people would be embarrassed about. I don't know, I find it funny, she said. Well, it is correct, said Naruto. So yes, I am concerned about you. She took it, promising to keep it on her. And she did. So she summoned him in the last moments. She thought she would have been able to handle them, but she was wrong. Because, just as Naruto said, they were prepared. And as much as she killed them, they kept on getting back up. Yes, they did. Kakuzu never expected to be pushed this far by this girl. It seems their previous information that they gather on her, well, it was wrong. Because she took two of his hearts. The water heart and the lightning heart as well. He was angry about that. However, he will find two other. And he will be reunited with his full self once again. However, at Mount Miyaboku, Naruto was greeted by Ma and Pa. Why am I here, said Naruto. Why am I not there? Hold on now, Naruto boy, Ma said. It will take us quite a time to reach out there. That is why we have to use a summoning seal. It is only simply one toad out there. As Naruto understood, it wasn't easy to summon Naruto. Just like how it wasn't easy to summon a larger toad, having the correct amount of chakra, but the cool thing was, toads could use natural energy. And they had hands. The small toad was finished with what he was doing, as he gathered the proper amount of natural energy, which was easy for them. Something that they seemed to be, well, basically born with, to an extent. They were spiritual animals of nature after all. The toad placed his hand down on the summoning seal, and Naruto was summoned. It told Naruto where they were. Just as it said that, there was an explosion that blew the entire entrance asunder, freeing the Akatsuki members. The both of them paused, as Naruto gazed wonder towards Yugito that was being carried by Kakuzu, like she was a bag on his back. Immense rage. It was hard to explain the rage that Naruto felt. First Gaara, and now. The problem was, there was no one here to revive her like they revived Gaara. Immediately, Kakuzu felt it. Kakuzu paused in his step. He looked down towards his hands. One, to be quite exact, to see it moving on its own. Wait, it's trembling. The last time he felt something like this was when he fought the first Hokage. When the man truly started to show him why so many feared him, when he had to run away. Kakuzu felt fear. Hidan, being too dumb to understand. The pain wheel appeared on Naruto's head. Half of Naruto's face turned completely cold, really into ice, while the other half turned pitch black, like a special move, taking on two aspects of one. His body changed to show that he was truly holding back against Deidara and against Yugito. Both Kakuzu and Hidan found themselves facing down in rubbles. What the hell? Hidan said. Hidan looked to see his arm twisted in several different ways. Confusion marred his features. Kakuzu had hardened his skin, and even then, he looked down. However, his threads were able to pull his arm back together. The thing was, Naruto had moved so fast. They were barely able to react. No holding Yugito within his arms. As Naruto breathed a sigh of relief, she was still alive. Naruto went through hand sign and brought his hand down. Poof! Gamakichi appeared in front of him. Yo! No time to talk. Take her, said Naruto. Gamakichi stuck his tongue out before pulling her into his mouth. His saliva had special healing properties. He jumped away as Kakuzu stretched his arm, only to see said arm into the wall. What the hell? Kakuzu hardened himself as Naruto appeared in front of him. Naruto then let loose. Blows after blows. Kakuzu, truly believing that his body would hold up, started to feel something wrong. Each blows were sending triggers straight through his back, one after another. Kakuzu then spat blood. He was unable to believe it. He was hardened. How was BAM! The next fist knocked him so hard, it felt like his brain was rattling. Hidan, angry about being left out, leaped forward and swung his sight. Naruto spun and stretched his arm as pure ice slammed into Hidan, ripping through him, tearing his body apart. It crashed him into the wall. Kakuzu swung his fist as Naruto grabbed it. He broke his arm and elbowed him in the face. Naruto then pulled him and slammed their skulls together. Naruto hit him so hard that he moved faster than the sound barrier. He broke through it. The booming collision sent him. He hit through so much rubble, tearing along. Naruto leaped to the heavens, pulling out another deadly technique that he's created. However, this one was a collaboration. A snowflake formed in Naruto's palm until it started to multiply, one after another, growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, before Naruto let them loose. Strangely enough, the technique seemed harmless at first, but Kakuzu, despite the horrendous pain, has seen many in his past not to judge a book by its cover. Immediately, his shoulders rip as the two masses emerge, spewing their elements. However, Naruto clenched his fist as the snowflakes. They continued to multiply. When he slammed his hand together, his chakra pulsed and activated them. They merge and twist into spears. Colossal spears just like the blade from his wrist. However, it was round and pointed. But it was the same flat edge at the top. Naruto let loose. There was enough power as it rained down. There was so much destruction. Kakuzu ran, yes, using the elemental hearts to shoot down those that got close, but one ripped into his leg. His threads ripped it out and threw it aside. Kakuzu ran as he saw the amount of destruction that they caused, jumping away, and yet they still rained down such monstrous power. He was right. The boy power reminded him of the past. No one else except for the leader had pushed him this way since. For him to feel fear, actual genuine fear, believing that despite his hearts, he would die. The entire landscape was rearranged. The attack could wipe out the entire goddamn army. It was a good thing that he was stronger than your average army. He started to morph and twist. He allowed him threads to twist and burst. Kakuzu went full force at once, turning into a horrendous monster. However, Naruto appeared as he swung both hands. Naruto stretched out and gripped them. He did not stop. One started to burn from the fusion of TLB's chakra, and the other one started to freeze. Slowing down. The threads were slowing down. Kakuzu had no choice but to rip them off and jumped away. But Naruto threw them and dashed towards him. Kakuzu tried to hit him, but Naruto surpassed him by, moving with such speed that he appeared behind him. Naruto kicked him straight into the goddamn sky, once again breaking the sound barrier. Naruto was not holding back. He jumped so high that he cleared Kakuzu. Gripped both of his arms together, Naruto crushed it into his skull. Kakuzu's head seemed to flatten. He might have a lot of hearts, but he only had one brain. Naruto's blade extended as it glistened, half cold and half hot. He raised it into the sky. Kakuzu's arms rose trying to defend him, but the amount of power that Naruto gathered, when he released it, the heavens quaked. The sky trembled. Hidan, who had removed himself from the ice spikes, looked up. He too felt it, as the skies waver and tremble violently. The explosion was enough to alert everyone in the vast vicinity of where they were. Naruto landed with a boom. The ground cold and hot at the same time. He hit Hidan from a mile away as he had ran straight up and blasted him through the goddamn creek, punching him through the underground passageway. Naruto ran and hit him once again and again and again as Hidan was slammed against a solid stone. He was in pain, yet he laughed. "I'm immortal, you idiot," he said. The more Naruto punched him, the more the pinwheel turned. That is when Naruto gripped his fist and sliced. Hidan was shocked as Naruto carved into his flesh. However, his arm, it started to die. Yes, his flesh started to rot. What the hell is this? "What did you do?" Hidan said angrily. His body was not supposed to rot away. He was blessed by Lord Jashin. He couldn't understand what was going on. Unlike a normal person, Hidan's body was special due to his so-called blessing. Therefore, not even the TLB's chakra could easily poison him like that. However, Naruto adapting had become so powerful that he was able to adapt past that. You see, the ability on itself was truly powerful, but Naruto had chakra. Chakra was life essence, spiritual and physical energy. Binding with his adapting ability, allowing him to transcend any limits that would be placed on his adapting ability, allowing him to surpass the heights of what the true definition of adapting is. Therefore, Hidan's body started to die. Hidan swung his spike at Naruto, having lost his sight. Naruto shattered it. Naruto punched him straight through his mouth, breaking every teeth, shattering its jaw as it was now hanging down. Naruto gripped it and gripped his skull as he started to pull. With a monstrous roar, Naruto ripped his head clean off, the side of his mouth ripping as Naruto tore it off. He wasn't done as he threw him and his head into the sky. It seems like his anger was surging more. Naruto opened his mouth. This time the cold and hot merged together. It started to steam into a black ball, resembling the tail beasts. Naruto proceeded to take and swallow it. The next moment, every single ounce of the power that he was using fused into that ball that was within his stomach, his body returning back to normal. However, when he opened his mouth, a beam shot through the Earth atmosphere. Yes, it shot through. Hedon was on the end of that. His body was vaporized, along with his skull. No remains, nothing to ever put him back together ever again. As Naruto power surged, passing the very Earth itself, going off into the very vast space. Perhaps that wasn't such a good idea, but he wouldn't know that right now. As Naruto took several breaths, steam escaping from his mouth, as he was calming down. Gamikichi and the small toad was watching, as the toad made a comment. It's a good thing that we're not his enemies. You're telling me, said Gamikichi. As he opened his mouth and his tongue came out, holding the girl. How is she, that small toad asked. She'll be fine. Pretty roughed up, but she'll be fine. The problem was, that technique that Naruto used continued to surge and disperse in space. And he shouldn't have allowed that to happen. There was reasons for that. Yes, they were. The vast open emptiness of space. A place where other beings might reside. Powerful, powerful beings. As a clear, white eye opened up. For what reason? Well, you're gonna have to find out next time, guys. Because I'm gonna be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next person do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.